We didn't start this with a platform of 200,000 followers and go, hey, I think I have something to say. Let's go say it. We started as
nobody's.
Literally nobody.
Every week you have so many people writing in. They want to be part of the show. Has there been something that you think has driven the growth of the show more than anything else?
Car wheels have been a game changer. Substack is great for extra community building.
If I'm honest, I think it would be...
You mentioned AI tools before.
Yes.
Everyone will be so mad if I don't ask. Which tools are you using? Lu and Loz, welcome to How Do I Podcast?
Thank you for having us.
Thank
We're
you.
very excited.
We are so excited to have this conversation today because you guys have built something phenomenal, and it's something that I haven't seen many people do. And it is a podcast that you have been working at for a really long time. For someone who hasn't come across it yet, can you tell us what is Ready or Not and who is
Sure.
it for?
Would you like to go?
I always lead. I think you deserve to
Okay.
lead.
All
You
right,
lead.
fine. I'll do it. So
We need
Ready or Not-
buzzers.
Pardon?
We need
need
buzzers.
yeah.
Oh, we do.
And just so that you know who's who, if you've never heard of us, I'm Lou with the really deep husky voice. And this is my friend
Lauren.
Loz.
So Ready or Not is a podcast for women on how to make work work. So it's essentially for those, I wouldn't say career girlies, but it's anybody that has a job essentially that is also a mum and is trying so desperately to figure out how do you juggle, balance, survive motherhood and working at the same time.
I just remember the very first few days after I had Charlotte, I wanted to call every woman that I had ever
Yeah.
worked with and apologize because I was like, oh, fuck, how do people do this? Like, you
Yes.
just have no concept until you're there.
Exactly.
But the podcast itself, like, it has been around since 2022. It's evolved a lot over that time as well. How has it changed for someone who hasn't seen since you first started?
So from the beginning, it was funny. I had this idea, brought it to Loz. We were going to do it together. Then Loz became pregnant with her first child, Sienna. And then we put on pause for a bit, and then I became pregnant with Ray, and then we put it on pause again for a bit. And then I was 6 months postpartum with Ray, and I was like, okay, Loz, I feel like it's now or never. But Loz was about to give birth to her second child. So she was like, go forth. I'll join in when it makes sense. So it started out as an interview series, weekly interviews, very much kept myself off the page. You wouldn't have known what it looked like for a long time there. And then we finally found a way to bring Loz in when she was ready. Do you reckon? Zay was about 8 months old.
Yeah,
wanna say.
probably.
And
Yeah.
she would come down the coast once a week and we would record together. And that's where what came to be just our like primary Ready or Not episode today used to be called Witching Hour. And so Witching Hour came in to our weekly offering and we did 2 weekly episodes then. And Witching Hour was all about sort of feminism meets pop culture, meets career, meets motherhood, meets womanhood. Then we added in, because Loz is like the expert in the room and I'm the asker of the questions and the feeler. So then we brought in Ask Ready or Not, which is sort of now merged into Dear Ready or Not, which is where Loz was tackling like specific how-tos in the work motherhood sort of space. That's now Dear Ready or Not, and it's listener questions, which we get so much of. And I can't even really remember what your question was, but that's sort of the evolution.
That's how it's evolved.
Yeah, that's how it's
Yeah.
evolved over time. And it started, I guess, as the interviews being more the thing. And then we were building up sort of our Witching Hour style episodes that are now just called Ready or Not.
Yeah.
And now the episodes with us are the thing, and we do monthly interviews, which was Loz's idea. And when she suggested that, I was like, oh my God, my workload is going to drop so much and this is the best thing
But
you
it
could have
hasn't
ever
at all.
done.
But it has not at all. I
No, but
feel
it
like
has in the interview space. So
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
a great idea by Loz. So now we do 2 episodes a week together. And then we have our monthly episode, which is an interview with someone else.
What pushed you to drop the monthly interviews?
Look, I'm a very results orientated
Yes.
person
We love
and
this.
I am very in the data. And I think what's really interesting is what Lou said before when she mentioned that she didn't put her face forward to begin with. I think what evolved over time is that, and I don't know how to say this without sounding like an absolute,
I've got a great quote for you. It's that people love people.
Yeah, that's exactly what
That's
I
from
wanted
Brie
to say.
Johnson from Frank Body. So
People-
I've said it for you.
Yeah, people love people. And I
Yeah.
think Lou and I were so focused on other people and their stories, which are also amazing. But
Yeah.
when I looked at the data and the stats, the majority of listeners were wanting to hear from us.
Yeah.
So as much as we love, and I know Lou absolutely loves interviewing other people, and it's great to have that combination and
Yeah.
that difference
Yeah.
to listen to other people's stories. I mean, ours, the everyday mum, and like
Yeah.
what we go through in managing work and juggling seem to be just as interesting. So that's the reason.
And we were the ones actually running the thing, I guess, but not putting ourselves much in the thing that we were running. And probably a unique thing for Loz and I is that we're so close and we're very comfortable to disagree respectfully.
Yes.
And I think that's probably what people enjoy listening to us talk about or discuss, is that we can probably have the slightly more difficult conversations with each other without it affecting our relationship in the way that it would for a lot of people trying to do a show together.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably why that became, and as Loz says, it was data-driven. That started to become the most popular show. So you go where the people are.
Yeah. Which a lot of people wouldn't expect that. Like anyone who wants to start a podcast, like, I'm going to interview people.
Yes.
And anyone who's come to us and said that recently, I'm like, but what about you?
Yeah.
Like,
and don't expect that to be what brings you to the top 10.
No, because everyone's been interviewed. Like everyone has been on a podcast.
Yeah.
So unless you're asking these groundbreaking questions that no one has heard before, which there are some really cool shows doing that now. But again, as you said, people love people. We were talking to Zach, who's part of Gary Vee's team.
Yes.
And he said the same thing. Like he did that with his own show. They completely canned guests. I was like, what do you mean? Why did you do that? And he's like, well, because no one knew who I was. And that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to build my own brand.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. I've never seen an audience as engaged as yours are.
I mean, they're mums.
That's a nice compliment.
Mums are incredible. But like every week you have so many people, and you've already just spoken about it. They're like writing in, they want to be part of the show. They want to co-create that with you. Can you talk to us about how you prep for those episodes?
Yeah, how do we prep for our episodes?
I think our preparation is different.
Yeah, I think also it depends on the week. Sometimes it's really
Hi,
good,
mum life.
and sometimes it's not as good. So we have our Ready or Not episode where Loz and I bring a segment each to each other, something in the realm of motherhood, career, womanhood, ambition, all of those topics. And we try and make sure it's what someone's talking about, what we think people are talking about, what's happening in our group chats or what's keeping us up at night. And then for our Dear Ready or Not episodes, we get so many questions submitted and Loz picks her favourite 3 or the, I guess, most prominent 3 each week.
Do you know what I found really interesting about picking topics? And I think this is what a lot of women forget. When people ask a question, they often feel like it's really unique. But then when you scour through all these questions, so many of them are so similar.
Yeah.
And it's so nice to be able to pick them and answer them, because it's like you're not alone.
Yeah.
Those questions might feel unique to you, but thousands of other women are asking the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So really, when we're doing those episodes, we look at what's the most common denominator here. Like, what are people wanting to know about? And then we craft responses.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about that too is, I don't know about you, Loz, but often I'll see a question where I'm like, oh, I feel so seen and heard.
Yeah.
And I haven't even articulated that thought to myself. And then you're like, oh, fuck, I do want to talk about that. I want the answer to that question.
Yeah. What have been some of the standout conversations or like things that you've been able to talk about?
Oh my God, there's so many.
So many.
Where do we start? I think relationships is a big one that not enough people kind of think about before they have children, and how much that changes, not just with your partner, but with your friendship group, with your mother's group, moving into school, with your workplace. Like, they all do change.
Yeah.
The identity shift, I think, is another big question that people write in about. Postpartum is a huge one.
Yeah.
And the change that you go through with matrescence.
Yeah.
And also like how I actually approach work. Like, do I want the shiny job that I used to want that pays me well but puts a lot of pressure on me?
Yeah.
Or do I actually just want to like coast through like a mid sort of level job that's actually feeling quite good at the moment? We get so many questions like that. We also, when I say that sort of we can have those difficult conversations that can be hard with 2 friends, especially 2 podcast hosts, it's like recently we talked about Botox and either side of that conversation. And that got such a massive response. And then it'll be things like, I think people sort of like what we talk about when it's just like how to drop the pressure. Like we are both, neither of us are trying to do it all and be perfect in every aspect of our lives. And I think that's probably what's relatable. So any conversation that just seems to be what is in the minds of our listeners, I guess, what's going on in their head seems to, I guess, receive the most response.
Yeah. No, I would agree.
So, of course, always. Has how you've approached formulating like what topics you're going to do, has that changed now that you've got access to more data?
Yes, absolutely. I and Lou's the same, I think. I look at how episodes perform all the time, within the first 12 hours, within 24 hours, over the scheme of the month. Like, everything is analyzed, we can see pretty quickly what people relate to and what they don't. So like what falls flat.
Yeah.
We also are very, very involved with social, with trial reels, with testing different topics, seeing where our listeners are kind of gravitating towards or what hits a nerve.
Yeah.
So whether it's breastfeeding, I mean, that's always
that's a big topic.
hot
Speaking
topic.
of, yeah.
Whether it's sleep, whether it's sex, whether it is how to negotiate flexible workplace policies, anything that we feel like is performing on social tends to move across to conversations in the podcast. So it's a lot of trial and error, but we're very much in the numbers.
Yeah.
It's good.
And I'd say Loz is in the numbers in a more of macro level. I definitely look at those numbers too. But I'm also so interested to see what gets the most DMs and what gets the most comments, because I'm like, what conversations are actually starting from this, which is probably also another nice blend of Loz and I feel like we approach even data in a different way,
Yeah,
which
really
comes together well, because I learn things from Loz that I wouldn't otherwise focus on.
Yeah. And are you just looking for numbers wise? Are you just looking at downloads or are you looking at other data metrics there
No,
too?
I'm looking at downloads. I'm looking at listens over time. I'm looking at drop-offs. So when people tune in and then decide it's no longer for them.
Yeah.
What do we say at 40, 40 minutes, 2 seconds?
Because everyone left.
And even with socials, it's like, are people sharing it?
Yeah.
Are they commenting on it? Like, I'm less inclined to look at views, because sometimes a good headline can generate views, but then if no one's engaging with it, it's like, well, it's kind of wasted, right?
Yeah.
So
social numbers are so much trickier too, because you literally never know what's going to go off and what's not.
Never.
Like there's some reels that I'm like, there's 100,000 views there, I'm sure of it, and that gets nothing.
No.
And then this random piece on like a random topic gets heaps of views. So that's where I feel like the podcast stats are way more meaningful, and then the social stats are a good sort of temperature check of what people want to listen to and find out about and talk about.
Yeah. Well, because you're building it for a community, right? And that's where they are on
Exactly
socials.
right.
It's so funny. If I took that as gospel, the only stuff that ever performs and consistently performs is Nick, who's obviously always in the room, is stuff around him making sourdough. Every time. Like 500,000 views on all of these videos. I'm like, hi,
Young
I'm
man
delivering
in the
really good
kitchen.
content here. No, sourdough content. So, but it is so true. Like if it pops off there, if it's trending, if it's topical, people are interested in it or curious or want, like they've got a knowledge gap there.
Yes.
And so you have this like ability now more than ever. We've never had that before. Like think about this opportunity to interact with the audience. Back in the day you had to do like focus groups and send out polls and letters, and now it's like you literally post a story.
Which is good and bad though, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes I look back in hindsight at like all these fun in real life opportunities you had and the lack of looking at your phone, and I think, oh my God, that must have been so nice.
Yes, that must have been good. Even going to events now, it's like it's so content driven, which like I get, because everyone's trying to support whatever brand is putting on that event, but it is quite alarming seeing it in real time. And I'm not pretending I'm not there taking a photo.
No,
I
of
am,
course.
but it's like it's interesting. It's very interesting.
Definitely. Has there been something that you think has driven the growth of the show more than anything else?
If I'm honest, I think it would be putting ourselves out there more and not being afraid to lean into how you truly feel about a topic. What has been difficult is on social media, you can cop a lot of hate for having a specific opinion, but if you sit in that grey area and you don't be true on how you feel,
like, say something.
and say something, then you're never going to move in any direction because you're not giving a polarizing view on anything. So sometimes you just have to say how you feel. And not everybody's going to like that. And I think that's half the problem with putting yourself out there, right? Because everyone's like, oh, you know, you put yourself out there. Yeah, of course you do. But you don't expect to get like horrible DMs or hate or whatever. And unfortunately, if you have an opinion, that's the way the cookie crumbles.
Yeah. And I mean, you can have a direct opinion without it being, you know,
Without
nasty
seeming like
or
an asshole.
vicious as well. So I think that's a really good point. Yeah, I think it's a combination of that, putting ourselves out there a bit more. I mean, maybe a nice studio helped. It's hard to know.
Yeah.
And then time. I hate to fucking say it, but time and effort, especially if you're like us and you're just two Joe Blows who were just everyday citizens and are everyday citizens. Like we didn't start this with a platform of 200,000 followers and go, hey, I think I have something to say. Let's go say it. We started as
Nobodies.
literally
Absolute
nobodies. And I still think of myself as a literal nobody, which is quite nice. I like it. But time, I'll never forget listening to a podcast where someone was like, I think they were saying it took them about 6 months to a year to be able to earn a cent back from it. And I was listening to it with my husband, and I remember being like, oh no, that sounds so grim. And now I'm like, yeah, no, it took us like 18 months before we really made anything meaningful.
Yeah. And no one talks about that. Everyone's just like, oh, podcast, yay. Like, I'm going to make so much money and get all these opportunities.
I don't think people understand the cost of what it takes to produce,
And
create, a podcast. Like, I think this is, I mean, actually, I'm going to hold myself accountable here. I think before I got into this space, the podcasting space and the content creation space, I'm going to put my hand up and say, I used to think, how hard could it be?
Yeah.
And you're just taking a couple of photos or a video and just slap dapping it online. Content creation is so hard.
Yeah.
You have to fulfill your audience's needs. You often have to fulfill a partner's needs of what they're looking for without it looking overly salesy.
Yeah.
You need to believe in the product. You need to have used it, tried it, have authentic thing to say about it. You need to edit it. It takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
And I will hand on heart say, I used to look at content creators and think, come on.
Yeah.
Like that's
You're
not
on
that
holidays
hard.
24/7.
That's not that hard. It actually is that hard.
Yeah.
It
And the
really
podcast,
is.
like I still can't wrap my head around that we release like one 40-ish minute episode a week, one like 20-ish minute episode a week, and then monthly like a 150-minute-ish episode a week. I still can't wrap my head around how much time is associated to all
There
of
is
that.
so much time. You would know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's why people like get us to do all the back end of it because it's so hard.
It
and
is.
like
It's a lot of
even
effort.
just like the post-production itself, that's one tiny element.
Yep.
But you've got the prep for what you're talking about. And then if you want it to grow, you have to do all
Yes.
the stuff that you've already spoken about. Like the social media side of it is massive.
It takes a lot of time.
Especially now. Like I think 10 years ago, if you had a really compelling idea for a podcast, you would have grown bloody quickly. But now there are so many podcasts, it's not even funny. Like the attention economy, as we know, is wild.
Yeah.
Everyone's vying for attention. Like we'll have social reels go off, and it doesn't necessarily mean you get that same incremental growth on the podcast.
Yeah.
It's much slower and steadier because people are just going, oh yeah, cool reel. Never going to see those two chicks again.
Yeah, and to get them to stop. And podcasts, we've spoken about this before, it's so powerful, but also one of the hardest places because every other platform, you're getting served content. Like it's like, oh, I think you'll like this. Whereas a podcast or something on YouTube's a little bit better, which is why we focus so heavily there now. But like a podcast, they have to click and choose to be with you.
Yes, exactly. And do you know what's another really interesting thing? Two of the most common comments I get, and I wonder if you're the same, Loz, if I meet people in real life that listen to the show, is I don't listen to any other parenting shows but yours, which always seems interesting to me because I don't really, like we're talking about making work. I wouldn't consider us a parenting podcast. We talk about parenting, but it's more about the experience of being a woman who's a parent in her 30s than anything. And the second one is I'm not even engaged in paid work at the moment and I listen. And again, I'm like, yeah, you are welcome here. Like we are not like how to get from marketing manager to marketing director to CEO. Like that's not our vibe at all. I'm like, it would make sense to me that you might be on parental leave or on a pause and listen because you are just as welcome as the CEO of the company.
Yeah. And let's go into the social content for a second as well, because I do love that. I think that's how I found you originally. Because again, you have been doing this for a long time and we'll talk about that growth journey as well. But with the clips that you have, what kind of thought process goes into creating those?
So much thought.
Yeah.
So Lu and I, number one, we have to listen to ourselves.
I'm getting so bad at
Which
that as
is-
the time goes on.
Which is excruciating to begin with.
Yeah.
And then you have to, trawl through what you think is going to make a good clip. We also use AI, like everybody else does.
Yeah.
To suggest what it thinks is going to perform. From there, you have to think of caption overlays. We often do multiple different text overlays on trial reels to see which one.
Trial reels have been a game changer, which Loz spearheaded.
Yeah, but then for every trial reel, obviously you need to cut that clip, you need to upload it, you need to put your caption. Then we also look at how we do that from like a lead perspective. So to get people from socials to listen, which is comment, listen. Then from there, we look in the back end and see who's actually clicked on the link to listen.
Yeah.
So in terms of socials, it's an enormous process. It's not just like oh, that's good, we'll just cut it into a clip.
Yeah.
Even cutting the clip, it takes time.
Yeah.
And then you
Thinking
gotta
of a
review it.
caption,
Yeah,
you
all
have to
that
view
shit
it.
takes so much time.
Sometimes Instagram has like glitches. We're not just on Instagram, we're also on YouTube.
And also
We're
we
on
don't want to
TikTok.
spend our life just looking at it, which sometimes you can get in the weeds of doing because you want to know what's resonating with your audience.
Yeah.
And I'd say on that, Loz is probably better at the like scale reach. And then I think at the same time I'm going through and trying to find those little grabs that potentially have meaning and won't get as much of a scale, like won't get us through as many eyeballs, but might lead to comments. Like I'll try and do those quote carousel posts every now and then that I'm like, oh, that's a grab. So I feel like, again, our brains come together well in that we're looking at reach almost differently.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's perfect
which we
combination.
need. Like you need both of those things, I think.
Absolutely.
Socials are hard.
Yeah, because that initial reach, like you're bringing people, like reaching lots of people, right?
Yes.
But once they're there, you've got to give them a reason to stay. So it is that perfect balance.
It's that perfect balance. Yeah. And Loz is an absolute queen at getting us in front of new people.
Yeah. And I think definitely, if you haven't already, definitely look at your Instagram page. We'll obviously pop it in the show notes, but you do that really well, that balance. Because if someone's listened to a podcast and they've seen the clips, like they've already listened to the podcast.
Yeah.
So maybe they want to comment on it, which you, again, do brilliantly to start that conversation. But if you're not providing other value there, like why are they following the page? What's in it for them to stick around?
Do you know what I find so fascinating? Lu and I were laughing about this the other day. Yeah. So we have people that have been in our DMs for such a long time that we feel like we know, which we probably don't in real life, but we feel like we know them, right?
Yeah, we know their handle, we know their name.
Yeah, we know who they are. We know you.
Yeah.
And sometimes like on a post to new followers, right, through trial reels, we'll say comment, listen, and we'll send you the link. And they'll comment, listen, and I'm like, this is so
it's a really interesting exercise in like how people interact with social media, because I'm like, these people follow us, they're in our DMs, as Loz says, like we feel like we've got a parasocial relationship with them. Yeah. And then I'm like, oh, they're commenting, listen too. So it goes to show, I guess, how people use social media so robotically. Like they're so out of their, like not out of their mind, but you know what I mean? They're like, they're totally in like in the habit of just scrolling, and they're like, oh, it's more efficient if I comment, listen, which has been really funny.
And I think the hardest part too is transferring people from social to become a listener.
Talk to me about this. What have you found that works? It is really hard.
It is really hard. I mean, we don't have a cookie cutter.
No silver bullet here, unfortunately.
No. I think, I mean, YouTube, I think is an area that we need to focus on more in terms of growth, because you've got that visibility of watching and listening at the same time. Yeah. I don't think we've found the secret sauce.
I don't know. I think there's an element of needing to share some stuff, which I think it's something that I actually want to chat to Loz about and how we approach this. We just never have enough time.
Welcome. Here's your meeting.
Is the content you're making outside of the reels that show your podcast? Like bringing people to a world in which we're talking about things that don't just live on our podcast, because I think that can quickly become a bit impersonal. It's like, just listen to our podcast. So I often think, what else can we do and do we do on social media that shows that this is a community outside of just the podcast, and maybe that brings people back to it? Yeah. It's tricky though. Like that's the hardest thing, is grabbing people's attention on this device or this app that is literally designed to keep them on it and keep them addicted to it. Yeah. How you get them off and get them listening to a podcast is so challenging, especially for time poor mums.
Yeah. Yeah. And like we have so many people that will just literally watch clips. Like that's all they do. And like those people that do comment listen, like they never have listened. Maybe they just engage with the clips. And like, because you do create that forum where people can have a conversation, they can have a say.
Yes. And do you know what's the trickiest thing about that is the push-pull of how much do you give away so that they get all that info that they need from socials versus giving so little away that you look like clickbait. And we find that really challenging. It's like, leave them on a clip so that they come to the episode, but you can't always do that, because then they just be like, look at these clickbait bitches, you know? Like finding the combo of that is really challenging.
Yeah. And there's so much like neuroscience behind that as well. Like if you don't give them that dopamine hit of like some sort of value, then they're like have this negative connotation with you.
Yes.
So it's like, you've got to have that. But it is like, we could talk about just this for hours, because it is so challenging to do.
It is.
You mentioned AI tools before.
Yes.
Everyone will be so mad if I don't ask. Which tools are you using for clips?
Claude, ChatGPT. When I say I'm using them, I do want to be very specific about how I use it. Anyone that inputs something into AI and asks it a question, you are doing it wrong. You need to spend significant time prompting. So what is it that you want to achieve? What does that look like? What is your tone of voice? What does your brand look like? How do you want people to feel when they watch it? Like that is the type of level of prompt that I'm putting in. Yeah. And it's not auto-generating captions or text overlay to 100%. So obviously there's always a manual part in there, and it also doesn't edit, for example, right? So this is just it providing suggestions on what it thinks based off the information that I give it is going to perform if I edit and create those clips.
Yeah.
So it takes away a bit of that mental load of thinking about it.
Yeah.
But it's not a one-stop solution.
Yeah.
You still have to provide a lot of context and information to get good results.
Yeah. And so many people will use tools like Opus is a really good example. You like literally pop in your video and it like spits out stuff, but it doesn't have that context.
It doesn't.
And so it'll create what it thinks is viral. And 99 times
It's
I'll
no
watch it
good.
back. I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
No one cares about that.
Yeah.
Or like maybe someone does, but definitely not our listeners. Like that's not what we're here for. And so having that nuance in there is so important. And then having your own, I guess, understanding and interpretation of it. We use it really as like a brainstorming partner. Like we'll have our
100%
ideas. Yeah.
Exactly
and then
right.
we'll be like, okay, these are the clips I'm thinking, like, can you give us the list of the most attention grabbing sentences from this?
Yep.
And it just gives you this. Or like if we're trying to leave it on a cliffhanger, I'm like, give me all the questions that we asked so that I've got something to be like, oh, and then they ask this, or where is the action?
Spot on. One thing I found that has worked better is questions. People love to know the answer to a question. Even in your text overlay, if you're like, how do you negotiate 5 days in 4?
Yeah, starting with a question is quite compelling on socials.
And then if people want to know, or if people have examples of what that looks like, often people want to share. Like, I did this. This is what works for me. Like, if you're just providing a statement that's like 5 days in 4, here's how it looks. It's like, what's more compelling? Like, what would you want to click on?
Yeah.
It's a bit of trial and error, I guess.
That's also like a way of community building, I think, is like bringing people into the question.
Yeah.
What do you think? Is there any particular thing like that as well that has brought the community more into comments?
We have always, not necessarily comments, but if we're talking community engagement more broadly, we've always really lent heavily into polls and all of those sorts of tools that Instagram has in the stories and whatnot. And I think that really helped build a community for us, because one of the things that I think Loz too has found the most interesting, even in the very early days when we try and ask someone if they want to be on the show and we're really small, it was always so surprising to me that 9 times out of 10 you'd get a yes straight away. And what that told me, at least, is that mums particularly really want to be heard and they want to share their story, and they think it's a conversation that's really important. And I think our community polls and all of the stuff we do there only speaks further to that fact.
Yeah.
Like, there's been people like Lael Stone, when we were like 10 episodes in, I'm like, you're pretty well known. You don't need to come on our little show. But she did. And there's so many people like that. And you're like, oh, people want to be heard and people want to speak on this topic because it's really important.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's not enough places to do it.
Yeah.
And not enough places where I think you can have that audience that is almost like that safe space as well, which is what you're building. Is it's like you're not building it and it's going on news.com and you have all these people who don't even have kids having a say. It's like you're building these people who are like-minded.
Yes.
Who want to talk about the challenges that they're also going through and be like, oh, I see myself there.
Yeah.
It's really special.
Which is hopefully something that we continue to do. I think we're very everyday in the way we talk. So that probably helps.
I
don't
like
know.
that.
Yeah, same. I mean, it keeps it like community-esque.
Yeah, I think one of the gaps that I certainly had when I had my first child was when I listened to podcasts, a lot of it was about birth or about being a mum specifically, which I think is great.
Yeah, like parenting tactics and whatnot.
And those type of podcasts are really helpful. Or the other end of the spectrum is they were very CEO, motivational speaker. Like that person had already gone through the grind and now they were at a level that, to be quite frank, I actually don't aspire to be like.
Yeah.
I love listening to them, but I'm like, where's the middle ground?
Yeah.
Where's the
So
everyday mum that maybe doesn't want to be a CEO but is happy in middle management or maybe senior management and also wants to spend time with her children at the same time? Like, where are podcasts for that?
It's such a good point. Like, if you think about someone like the Emma Greeds of the world, it's like, yeah, sure, it might be inspirational for a lot of people to listen to that. But like, what about the people that can't afford to have a nanny? And no disrespect to anyone that can. That's amazing. But what about those people that are actually, as Loz says, like just trying to keep up with the grind while also parent in a way that they want to?
Yeah. And trying to feel like a good mum, but have mum guilt and have all these other things like the pressure of society. It's like, 100%. It's everything. Everything that, like, again, the second I became a mum, I was like, oh, hi, thank you. This is what I need in my life.
At 3 p.m. and you're actually really hard work. I'm so sorry for thinking otherwise.
Seriously. Before we talk about like the journey, because I think there's so much inspiration in that as well. Can you talk to me about the other ways that you repurpose the podcast? Because there's obviously clips, but I know Substack is a huge thing for you guys that you've used in the past and still use now.
Substack, we're actually going to reboot a bit. I have like a little personal one that I use on the side, but the Ready or Not Substack, we had a really great interview series called How I Make Work Work. We're going to reboot that because people loved that. That was a really great way to reach extra people. And I'm not going to lie, it's been a little bit dormant the last 6 months. But Substack is great for extra community building. I think that's a really great platform. It's really good for people that don't really want to spend time scrolling, although of course, as days go by, Substack is becoming a little bit more scroll happy. What other ways have we built community outside of the actual podcast and socials?
I think we attend a lot of events.
Yeah, we do. And we've hosted a few.
We have hosted a few. And I mean, I just want to get the most out of every piece of content that we make. Yeah. So when we look at repackaging, repurposing, resharing, if something performs well, there's no reason why you can't change it by 10% and redo it.
Yeah.
You do not have to be creating content all the time.
Yeah.
I think find something that works and change it by 10% and put it back out there in a different format. So whether that's like stories, TikTok, YouTube,
polls, like a poll on it, like a segment that did really well, they're making a poll out of it to get the conversation going.
I think there's so much there is so much social content out there and people are like, oh, what can I be doing? Like, how do I start or what do I do? Take 5 clips, chop them 100 different ways, use AI, use trial reels. Like trial reels really have been.
Yeah, trial reels have been great.
A game changer for us.
Yeah.
And then if a topic resonates with someone, just figure out a different way to talk about it.
And also that in real life element too, like as Loz said, we go to a lot of events and we try and really get around other people within our sort of space, I guess, and have actual relationships with people. Like we're definitely not two people that are just trying to put ourselves out there in the world and hope that other people love us and then just sort of walk a step above everyone else. We want to be like in the world of mums in business and mums trying to make work. And so I think it's very two-way for us. Like we talk with people and we want to hear from people too. It's not just us speaking out to the abyss and hoping that we get popular.
Yeah, which then gives you better content for the show, right? Because you're actually having conversations with people that are going to listen to the show.
Yes, and a lot of the content for the show is driven by the DMs that we get. Like they create content.
Yeah.
If people are sending
they're working for us.
They are. In a great way. Like you don't have to like have everything polished and refined. Like if you're getting some great DMs that you're like, oh, that is such a good message, put it on your feed and get other people
to see what other people think.
Exactly
100%.
right.
I think Loz also brought up something brilliant just then about like it's a fine line between making your socials look nice and on brand, but not going too far that they're just completely polished and that there's no human there. Yeah. And I think we've now found that balance. I reckon at the start it was too polished, but now there's a bit of a balance of just sort of the real everyday shit and like memes and random stuff like that. And then there's like hopefully a bit of a brand sort of outline that you can see when you click on our page as well.
Yeah. Not many people that are going to be listening to this are going to be someone that is podcasting full-time as their job, especially day one. Like, you know, everybody's got a life. They've probably got a job or business or something else that they're doing. Take us back to 2022 when you were first starting it and how you were juggling all of this, because we've spoken about this before off mic, like the amount of work that goes into a podcast. Insane.
Well, that's when we were just doing it in my parents' back room and you were driving down and we'd recorded ourselves. I did the editing. You probably did more of the social stuff, bit of a mixture. Loz was also sort of on the business and partnership side. So before we had someone doing all of our partnerships, that was all Loz, and she sort of does the finances and all of that side. So at the start, it was probably very much more divided into me doing the creative side and Loz doing the strategic marketing and business and partnership side. And we both were freelance then, but then you ended up going back to an actual quote unquote job. But we're both freelancing then and it was just mayhem.
Can I just say both of us work. I work full time and Lu also freelances. So as much as we love this podcast, we still have to support it with
other finances.
Yeah. And I think I always am so surprised when people are like, oh, I can't believe you do it full time. We do it full time. But again, it's like a separate side business, a separate business. And a lot of our time spent on this podcast is after hours, early mornings, really late nights. Like Lu and I are working on a project at the moment and we're sending videos to each other at 1 a.m. in the morning. That is the reality of having a side business that is growing.
Love it.
You have to love it because we started like really bootstrapped at the start and we're still very, very much bootstrapped. But at the start, like, you know, we would drive to each other's houses. We would set up a subpar podcast studio with a little terrible lighting.
Yeah.
We would edit all of our social clips. We would spend hours doing our own edits. Like, the amount of
it took
editing
so
that
long.
Lu did was crazy. And it wasn't until we started to get some partners on board. But again, a lot of hustle. Like, if you got a DM from me, Cole,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
She
I
says-
DM'd everybody.
She
She
hustled.
says the amount of editing I did was crazy. The amount of pitching she had to do was also crazy. And she figured out, I think it was 1 in every 30. You got a
One
bit
in
of a
every
bite.
30, I had a response. So
Yeah.
for every 30 emails that I sent out, one person would respond.
Yeah.
That
And
is-
then that's not the,
That's not the conversion
signed
rate.
on the,
Yeah.
on the dotted line.
Yeah, that's just get someone to actually say, hi, yes, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or send us a partnerships deck. And I was like, shit, we've got to create a
Yeah.
partnerships deck. Like, what is
Yeah.
it going to look
What's
like?
that?
Yeah.
Which is also, I wonder what extra sort of visibility that created for Ready or Not. You know what I mean? Like that you're pitching out to us because people would see the name. It's those sorts of things where you don't know what extra listeners or
The little
followers
1%.
that leads to.
Like they are maybe a mum who works for that company and they're like,
Yeah.
oh, this looks good. This looks like something I
Yeah.
needed to see.
Exactly right. And I look at the amount of grit that we still have, and I am surprised. Like, when I think about juggle, I'm like, we embody it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we do. Sometimes I'm like, we are nuts, but it's never occurred to me to stop. Like, it's genuinely never occurred to me to
Yeah.
just stop tomorrow.
And when people think, oh, I'll start a business and then I'll spend all my time there and then it'll make money, it very rarely goes to plan like that. And the cost of living, life, children are expensive. So my biggest advice is, if you are wanting to start a business, like whether it be in podcasting, whether it be a product, try and have something else that's going to financially afford you to do that until you're at a point where you feel like something has to shift. So,
Yeah. And because you can hear it as well. And I do literally say the same sentence over and over and over again. But we have seen creators who've been in the space and they've funded a part of their lifestyle with their podcast.
Yes.
And you can see when the downloads drop, like they are so stressed and the content changes and it's just like they're like scrambling just to get downloads. They're not they're not trying to build a community anymore.
Yeah.
They're just trying to get more cash in.
Yeah.
And it's like no one's going to want to listen to that.
Well, it's community first, right? Community is what is going to drive your downloads. So focus on community first, even if it's really small, even if it's like 20 people that you know are going to listen every week. Foster those relationships because those people and that word of mouth is going to grow your business far quicker than meta ads.
It's such a good point you raise. I wish that we could know where we've been trickled through like WhatsApp groups and whatnot, because the amount of messages where we're like, our friend put this into the mum chat. I'm like, I wish we had that data because I'd love to see all those convos. Maybe not like the 10% that might have been like, this
These
bitch
girls
said
suck.
that. But it's that sort of stuff that, like, if you take your listener and your community seriously, it's like all those ripple effects that come from that they're not tangible, but they matter.
Yeah, because you trust what someone else is saying. If they're like, you should listen to this podcast, you're like,
Oh, totally.
okay.
Yeah,
Give it a crack.
you take that over a social clip any day. If they're like,
And again, a different behavior. When you're like getting recommended by a friend, it's in a group chat. When you have time, you're going to go back to that.
Yeah.
Whereas social media, you're not there to find a podcast.
It's such a good point. And they
agree.
will link an episode to you most likely. So then it's just like clicking on a link in a WhatsApp group as opposed to like scrolling through a reel, finding the name of that podcast, maybe clicking on it one day.
Yeah.
Such different behavior, as you say.
Yeah. And so for anyone who is listening who's like, how do I get that to happen? Like, just think about what could you create in your show that would be something that someone else would want to send to their friend? How could you give it something that they're like, actually, you need to hear that, and tell them that. Like, hey, if you found this valuable or you think someone else would,
Share it.
Share it.
Yes.
Tell them. Yeah, those tiny little moments. When I was doing research, I came across this photo. And it was of the two of you like setting up with the table and the ring lights in the background and all of that. You said before that like it's never occurred to you to stop. Why do you think that is? Even through all of those times where it was that like slog to get it out.
Why do you think that is? Because I have no idea.
I think it's because I personally am so invested in seeing women advocate for themselves and succeed. Like I know there's a lot of messages out there like, boss bitch, blah, you don't have to you don't have to be that. Like your version of success can be so different. And I see so many women every day in a corporate workplace that lack confidence to have a hard conversation or to ask for more pay or to renegotiate their role, whether it be like 3 days, 4 days. And I do think like we get some amazing DMs of women that are like, oh, thank you so much. That really helped. Like I had a conversation and this is what it led to, or I had the conversation. It didn't turn out how I want, but I'm so proud of myself for having that.
Yeah.
I think it's things like that make a difference for me.
Yeah, that's actually so true. Like we've actually changed the way some people go about it. And I hate even saying that out loud, but it's like, it's meaningful stuff. I think when I think about the content side, which still makes me cringe every day, like I'm like, why am I fucking posting about having 2 under 2 and, you know, what's worked for me? Like I cannot be fucked. But the thing that I keep coming back to is you do have to play the game a little bit, and the conversations that we have are too important to me to care about the fluff that you have to do to play the game. So that's what it always comes back to, is like I genuinely needed this myself, and I know people need this.
Yeah.
And it's also really fun. I love doing this with us. Like we have a lot of fun. It's stressful at times, but it's so fun. But it actually means something to us, I think. Like that's probably at the end of the day why it's never occurred to me to stop. So like this means something, and it actually does something for people, as Loz just said.
And you're passionate about it. You have to be passionate about it. You have to love it.
Yeah, especially with everything that you have to go through, and those times where like you're putting your heart and soul into this and it's just not coming back to you. Like you're not getting those partnerships, you're not getting the downloads that you think you will.
It can feel soul destroying.
It can. We've had those meetings where you're like, fucking hell, like why aren't we 10% further than we thought? It's funny that that's always not felt like a threatening, like let's stop convo. It's always just been like a what the fuck do we do next conversation.
You just mentioned fluff there, and we're about to do a really big episode around like personal brand. What is the fluff you have to do to play the game?
Look, I'll just do random posts every now and then about my thoughts about like matrescence or returning to work or what it's like to have a bad drop off. And you put these things up and they get great engagement and lots of people feel seen and heard, but you can't help but be like, why am I doing this? Like, why am I doing this? But unfortunately, for me, that fluff has seemed meaningful in our growth to share bits of ourselves. And I know that people love, like Loz will probably be a bit more comfortable like talking to camera on reels than I will, but people love that. And I know they do. And they'll be like, oh my God, I loved that reel the other day that Loz put up of X, Y, and Z. Yeah. And that's the human side. So it's like all well and good to have all these podcast clips that show your gorgeous setup and talking about hopefully an articulate conversation. That's all well and good. But this is what I mean about that content that like is there for your community, where you can talk with them outside of the podcast, that actually makes them realize you're real people, and then hopefully makes them want to listen to your podcast more than just this bloody podcast clip, because there's a million of those, but there's only one of you who has those specific thoughts about a topic. So that's the fluff that like, do I want to post about myself? Not really, but like, do I want the podcast to succeed? Yeah, I do, more so than I don't want to post about myself. So then it's like something's got to give. Yeah. What would you add to that, Lozzie?
Oh, no, I completely agree.
Yeah.
You have to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes you unique, as in you are you. Like what makes you unique is the everyday shit.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's different to like the podcast episodes, isn't it? Like sharing your actual shit on Instagram.
Yeah, but that is the fluff.
Yeah.
Like that is genuinely the fluff. It's like putting up a camera to film yourself making breakfast. Like, what? Why am I doing this?
Oh, yeah.
But then the conversation at the back of it is like, how hard was this morning? Like, who the heck can get out the door by 7:30? Like, not me.
Yes.
What is everybody else doing?
And then 30 people comment going, oh my God, I'm so glad you said this. I felt like shit this morning because of X, Y, and Z. It's so interesting too. We're still very much in that phase of like infancy all in all.
Yeah.
But I look at people who are very established in their game, like Michelle Andrews or Zara McDonald, and how little they share on social media. And I look at that and I'm like, I can't wait to be in a position where hopefully we can share less of ourselves to get an audience.
But it is those things that allow people to connect with you.
Yes.
And that's what you need in the beginning.
And you've got to find the way that works for you. So for me, it's like putting text over a carousel about a topic that's really in my brain. And that's the way I feel comfortable doing it. Another person's version of comfort is different. So also don't just like feed the algorithm with what you see other people doing. If you're going to feel anxious 24/7 about what you're posting, like find your version of what you're semi-comfortable with sharing.
Yeah. Yeah. And having that personal brand, it is something that so many people cringe at. They're like, I'm doing a podcast. Why do I have to be an influencer or do all of this
We did the
stuff?
same.
Yeah.
But like you've said how much it's helped you grow.
Yeah.
And it is something that, again, it's going to make you stand out versus the other person who's not doing it. Like, why are they going to follow your podcast about this? Because there are so many now.
There are.
So it's not just the content of the show. It's like the host, they love you. They want to build that rapport with you as well.
It's also for partnerships too, 100%. Like Loz is probably a bit better at sharing the everyday than me. And she definitely gets more brands reach out to her. So that's another thing. Like, brands will follow you if you're real and online with them and you're just being your scrappy self.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
What have you learnt about the partnerships journey? I know now you have someone else that helps you with this.
Yeah.
But like from when you started out to now, what's the thing that gets that cut through?
Oh my God.
Tell us.
I mean, I think it's a numbers game. I still do. I really do. I think at the very beginning, you just have to grind. You have to send out pitches to as many people as you possibly can. But I think you need to use a product. I myself find it very hard watching people spruik and promote products that you just know that they don't use or they don't like, or you're like, your skin isn't like that because you use, I don't know.
Yeah, you're genetically blessed.
You're like, come on.
Yeah.
Which can make it really hard, if I'm honest, when you're starting out, because you're like, oh, we do need cash. But then you do need to think about what you represent, what your values are. Like Lucy and I have had some brands that we are just not aligned to. So whether it's maybe gambling or lotteries, like we haven't worked with those, by the way. She's just using them as other examples. No, but I have no issues in other people using and promoting them, but we don't.
Yeah.
We don't really
Doesn't make sense.
do those things ourselves.
And we have had brands where we've said to our manager later, like, don't think that was quite right for us. We can only figure out by doing it, but don't think that's where we want to go.
Yeah. So it can be really hard at the beginning to say no. And I'm not saying you have to always say no. Like you can put parameters in place or maybe go back with a pitch that feels more authentic to you. But when it comes to partnerships, I think
what Loz did well is that she always personalised messages or emails to people. And if I think of the reverse example of that, which is that if people DM us that want to come on our show, but there's absolutely nothing that shows me that they have any interest in what we actually do, I actually find it rude. I'm like, that's actually just rude. We've built something that we really care about. Give us the time of day if you want to use our platform to promote yourself without paying us type thing. And if I think of, again, reverse that back to what Loz did, she would always personalise her pitches to people, even that first message.
Yeah.
She would always either mention a product or a person who was in charge of that business or whatever. And she was really good at that.
Yeah. But it sounds so simple. Like that sounds like the most simple thing in the world. But like being on the reverse end of that and seeing people pitch to guests or brands wanting to work with us, like it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And so if you are that, you actually will stand out because you are the person that gives a shit, that's actually like taking the time to be like, hey, this is why I think this would be good for both of us.
Totally.
Yes.
And it is more time, but you're probably better off pitching to 30 people and putting time into it than 60 people and like showing no sign of you actually caring about that brand.
Yeah. And also what happens if that brand is like, sounds great. And you're like, shit, I don't have any of that. Like I've just lied and said, love your products. And they're like, great. Can you shoot something at home? You're like, I don't have any of them.
Can you send me? I'm just emptied. I've just run out.
Yeah, it's like, no, be authentic. If there's stuff that you like and use, message that person and say it like, hey, Alicia, I love this. You know, I love the blazer that you're wearing. I also have one.
Yeah.
Here's a photo. I would love to promote it. Like, I don't know. You don't have to be that cringy as what I just said, but.
Yeah, but it's a good example. I also think there's unfortunately a social proof element. Like we get so many more messages now of brands wanting to work with us, not always paid. Sometimes they just want to send us product or whatever, but it's a social proof element. They're seeing us more. They're seeing us attend events with other people. Yeah. They're seeing us out there, I guess, on social media. And unfortunately that happens with time. Another thing is really, I reckon, nurturing those early supporters of you.
Yes, I agree.
Like from day one, Francesca Jewelry, who we haven't partnered with, but they've been really supportive of us. They've always welcomed us to their events and they've always shown a keen interest in us. And by virtue, we've supported them back. The Memo is another example. They were always supportive of us day one. They invited me to host a talk very early on with not much proof that I could even do that. And then they enabled us to host an event at their store, which I'm not going to pretend wasn't beneficial for them. Of course it was, but they've been very early supporters of us. And those brands, again, they haven't actually paid to work with us. We just worked with them in other ways. But those sorts of brands will help you get seen by other brands.
Yeah,
and their mums in business as well.
And it's that proof, but like people don't even know that you do partnerships unless you're showing them that you're doing partnerships either as well. And so we have a lot of people, even in the influencer or creator space, that don't necessarily even have a podcast, but they will do like affiliate codes. They will do things for free really early on to get that like portfolio built up of like, hey, this is what I can do. Because otherwise you're going in cold being like, I'd love to partner with you. They're like, what are you going to do?
Yes.
Like they don't.
And we did a bit of that too. We did a bit of conscious stuff in the early days, and then we'd make content to show people what we could do. I'm thinking back to that video where I got you to put a sleeping mask on.
Oh my God, when was that?
She can't even remember it. Don't worry, it's not worth spending time on.
Oh my God, it's so funny.
I'll show you later.
The stuff you look back on.
Yeah.
Oh,
You have
seriously.
to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And I'm not embarrassed about
No,
that.
you've got to
I'm
remove your
actually
ego
not.
from it. Yeah. Which Loz is really good with. Like, I took a bit more time to be like, this is how you get yourself out there. The funny thing about getting yourself out there is as well, it's the people without an ego that are actually better at doing it. Loz was better at it than me. And it made me realize I actually had more of an ego about putting myself out there. Once I dropped that ego, who cares what people think of you? You actually have to stop caring what people think of you.
Yeah,
Someone said to me the other day, the people at the top, the people who have made it are never going to look down at other people who are giving it a crack.
Yes.
So I'm like, what have I got to
Give it a
lose?
crack.
If I'm aspiring to be that person, or if there's a brand that I love, I'm like, they're not going to look at me and be like, oh, that's pathetic.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, good on you. I'm like, well,
Exactly.
what have I got to lose?
Yeah, the biggest creators. I think Ryan John said it when we were chatting to him as well. It's like people are so worried about their video flopping and not doing well, and like people judging them for it. They're like, if it flops, no one's seen it.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Who
It literally
cares?
means no one's seen it.
Yeah.
And like, again, coming back to the attention spans of everyone online, like people don't care what you're doing.
Yeah,
Nah.
They're focusing on their own shit.
exactly. This is phenomenal, by the way. Is there anything else that you guys want to cover? We've covered so much.
No, as
You're
in,
good? Yeah.
No,
No,
sorry,
anything
I've
else to
just
share?
yapped,
No,
yapped,
this
yapped.
is incredible. Okay,
Oh,
cool.
good.
No, this is perfect. All right. All right. What's one thing that you wish that you knew when you started?
you go first. I'll
That
think.
people love people and not to hide behind it. When I was the video producer on this course called Of Course that Brie Johnson and Jess Hatzett's made from Frank Body and Willow and Blake. I want to make sure I credit them. Brie, said people love people, and I remember being like, shit, she's right, and we've got to make ourselves part of the brand and not rely on everyone we interview.
Yeah.
And I think it's true. Like any brand where the founder is a part of the story, like the way G Bungalow, for example, Rasheen Tarrant has gone about building her brand and by G the label, she's taking people on the journey and showing herself and her personality. And she's the most lovely, down-to-earth girl who is very creative and interesting. And that's why people want to buy clothes from her brand. And that's why people want to engage with her content. So that is probably I think that's the biggest thing I've learned.
I would say that authenticity trumps aesthetics. People want to interact with a less polished version of you than you think.
Yes, that's such a good one.
One question that we ask everyone to the podcast
Yes.
is, what is one podcast that you keep coming back to
Yep.
and why?
Oh,
Ooh.
ours would be very different.
Oh, I've got a few. It's really hard. I really enjoy the deep dive episodes on Shameless. So the Monday episode.
Yeah.
I'm not a pop culture girly, so the other ones are less me, but the deep dive episodes I love. I
Oh,
love
we
The
love
Back Row by
recommendations.
Amy Odell. It's a fashion podcast, but it's quite interesting and clever. I absolutely love We Used to Be Journos with Jan Fran and Antoinette Lattouf. They're amazing. God, I love podcasts, as you can tell. And I love this podcast called This Is Love. It's basically all these really interesting stories on love. Like there was a great episode with who was it? There was a great episode with Delia Ephron, who's Nora Ephron's sister. She was also a writer. And they just tell the most random stories that center on love in one way or another. And I love it. It's so good.
That is so cool. I love new podcast recommendations. This is perfect. And classic producer. Hi, thank you. for the podcast.
I'm
love.
so boring. I listen to like 3 podcasts.
But that's
as
why
in-
we come together well. I loved it.
What do you listen to, by the way?
Yeah, tell us.
I listen to, I'm obsessed with, and I always say it, although it has changed recently, and that's good. It's evolving in different ways, but Hot Smart Irish with Maggie
Oh,
Snellers.
yeah. She's
I've never
amazing.
listened to that.
Love.
I need to
She's so
listen to
good.
that.
You'll love it because it's like you learn, but it's so entertaining at the
good.
same time.
I'm
Very
just not
really good.
business savvy, and I assume it's a business savvy podcast.
No,
No,
it's
it's
definitely
not.
not. It's
Not.
complete opposite.
Okay,
You'll
great.
love it. Like you learn from it and you feel smart, but
Yeah.
you're like, yeah. Shameless, always a good
Yes.
go-to, go back to. And then mine are all creator podcasts, like Open Residency.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
obsessed with.
Yeah.
So they have some really cool stuff there.
Yeah.
And then it just depends on like, I guess what season I'm in,
Yeah.
whether I'm wanting to learn or whether I'm wanting to.
Yeah, I'm
get
going to be
straight.
really sad at the end of this that there'll be like five other
Like,
podcasts
send
that I
me a
want to
voice note,
shout
add
out.
it in.
Add this in. This
Mine
is
are-
critical information.
Mine are so lame. Like it's so lame. Australian true crime.
Oh, I
Like,
hate true crime.
I love
podcasts
true
so
crime.
much.
We
The
only
financial
listen
review
to.
I listen to
I
all
get
the
too
time.
scared otherwise. I only listen to the white collar ones, but we used to drive down to Melbourne from Brisbane every year for Christmas.
Drive.
Yeah, drive.
Jeez.
We still do have a dog. We were like dog parents before we were real parents.
Same.
And the dog
Know
was
it.
like the child. Noah's not going to put it on the plane.
Yes,
So we
yes.
drove every year like maniacs. But we would listen to like one of the series on the way, but they were only ever the white collar ones because I would just be like driving along at like 12
In
o'clock
the
at the
dark.
night. And I'm like, stop me.
Yeah.
So anyway,
good.
we have just gone on a wonderful tangent for a long time about all of the wonderful podcasts that we love. So that'll be a creative little editing journey that we've just gone through to get here. Thanks, guys. But thank you so much for joining me today. It's been incredible.
It's been so fun.
Where is the best place for people to connect with you?
Babe, this is your line. Go
No,
for it.
you do
Okay,
it.
we'll swap today. So on Instagram, we're readyornot.pod. Loz is Lauren Treweek _ I'm Lucinda Mckimm _ Our podcast is just called Ready or Not. We've interviewed some unbelievable people and sometimes we chat together too. And I mean, we're on bloody all the things, aren't we? TikTok, YouTube, Ready or Not,
Everywhere.
Ready or Not, Ready or Not.
Yeah.
We
Thank
will
you so
pop it
much for
all in the
having
show
us.
notes. But thank you. It's been amazing.
You.
Thank you.